Hello. To finalize our project of this semester and to be able to work with it on our library on multiple books, we now have to install a database in addition to Mathematica. So what is the database about? So people say a lot of things, but I think for you it's important that that the database is a relational database, and therefore this kind of scripting language called SQL is like a big spreadsheet, like Excel. So you have a table, and these tables can be connected. And what you are doing is that you substitute somehow your file system. So, and you're not managing files or documents, but you're managing all the elements of your documents. And by that, you're able to work crisscross different documents and different applications. As you can, for example, have a photo in Photoshop, and you can have it in iPhoto, or you can have it wherever you like, which is able to deal with the photo. These kind of things can be done with all the fragments, all the pieces of texts, all the images, sounds, and whatever you have in a document. And in a document, you always have it in a sequence, like in a movie. So a text, a picture, another text in a certain style, another picture, a sound, whatever you have. So these sequence of fragments, they are stored as identities, they are saved as identities in the database, and they can be reconfigured with all the applications which have access to the database. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a database is not afraid of big data. So if you have 1,000, 5,000 of these fragments, of course, no problem. But if you go to 500,000, 5 million, 50 million, no problem. So, and it doesn't get slow just by adding more data. Like with your file system, it doesn't matter whether you have 500 megabytes, 5 gigabytes, or 2 terabytes. It just works. You can find your files, open them, and so on. With a database, is the same thing. So, quite different, as you know. If you have a file with a few megabytes or a few gigabytes, it takes time to open that, because you have to load all the fragments, put them into line, put them all into memory, and so on. And you can be much more flexible with a database. But it's getting a little complicated to operate that. And you need this scripting language called SQL. So this is what I think is important for you to understand what a database is. So it substitutes your file system, or it's a completion to certain tasks you want to do with that. So now we need an installation, which is a little tricky. I suggest that you install, you can do different, but then you have to find out how to manage it. I suggest to get this open source Postgres SQL, and that's you find it postgresSQL.org. You find that. It's free on all operating systems. I can show you here how to install that on OS X. There's similar ways, very straightforward, and even much more documented on a Windows system. So I follow. And I suggest to follow this tutorial, how to install SQL on Mac OS X, and we just will do that. And
Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how you can download and install PostgreSQL on your Mac operating system. So let's get started and let's see how we can do it. So there are several ways of downloading and installing Postgre on your Mac operating system. We are going to see one of them, which I feel is the easiest way. So just search for PostgreSQL on your favorite browser, and then in the search result, just click on the option which says postgresql.org. So we need to go into this website, which is postgresql.org. Just go into that website, and then just click on the downloads option, and here choose the Mac OS option, and here you will see several options to download. So first is the interactive installer by Enterprise DB. Second is the graphical installer by Big SQL, and the third is Postgres.app. So we are going to choose the third option, which is Postgres.app. So just choose this option and just click this link which says Postgres.app. Okay, so I'm going to just click that link, and in here this is the download button for Postgres.app. So I'm going to just click this button, which is going to download the .dmg file. Okay, so I will wait for the download to complete. It's about 147 megabyte file, so it will take some time to download. So I will just wait for the download to complete, and then we will see how we can start our server and how we can connect to our server. So now this DMG file is downloaded, so I'm going to double click on this DMG file, and I'm going to minimize the browser. And first of all, it's going to open this DMG file, and then it will ask us to copy this DMG file to the applications folder. So we are going to do that. We are going to just grab this icon and then place it to our applications, which is going to start copying this Postgres SQL. Once this Postgres is copied into our applications folder, I'm going to just close this, and then I'm going to go to my launchpad. So just go to the launchpad, and you will be able to see this icon for the Postgres. So I'm going to double click on this Postgres icon, and then it's going to verify this application first, and maybe it's going to give us some warning. And now I'm going to just click open here, which is going to open this kind of interface, right? So we can see first of all that Postgres server is not running. So we will first of all initialize the Postgres server by clicking this button. So just click initialize first of all, which is going to initialize and most probably start the SQL server. So you can see this status here, the server is running now, and you can see these users for the databases, right? Now let's go to the website once again for this download page. So just go to the same website, postgresapp.com, from where we have downloaded, and we will scroll down a little. So you can see we have already executed the second step, which is initializing. Now the third step is to configure your path. So we need to execute this command in order to just configure the paths. So I'm going to just open the terminal first of all, and then I'm going to just copy all of this command from sudo to the end of this command. So from sudo to here, I'm going to just copy this command and then paste to my terminal, and then just press enter, which is going to ask me for my max password because I have used sudo here, right? So it's the max password. So
okay, let's try it. So this is my SQL Postgres server I'm running. I showed this in the menu bar, so you see it's running, and I said that it should automatically start the server if the system runs, if your computer runs. So that's this, and now let's follow him on YouTube. So he said we should copy that from here, the installation. On macOS. Postgres app. Here we are. This is the, it's a newer version here. So this is the code. Then he choose a terminal. You can find your terminal. That's an application you rarely use. So write for terminal. And look here, and this is the application. So it's an applications utilities terminal. Go here. So and then paste this stuff, and we get the password. Now this is my password. Okay, now this is working, and we continue now with this tutorial.
Max password. So I'm going to give the max password, and now this path is set, right? So once this path is set, you can just write psql command here and then press enter, and then it says psql cannot be found because we need to restart our terminal. So I'm going to just close the terminal and then restart it once again, and then I'm going to try to connect to the Postgres user, right? So I'm going to minimize the browser, and then you can see there is Postgres user, there is your username, and there is one more user here, right? So I will just give psql command and then minus capital U for the username, and then Postgres.
Okay.
So Postgres is this username, this one, Postgres, right? So just write Postgres and then press enter, and now.
Okay, let's do it. psql, PostgreSQL, minus user, and we check it. We have Postgres here. This is my database. It looks like this. There's already stuff in here. These are, okay, we will go later on there. Okay, let me in another software. So these are the three databases. I want to log in with Postgres. Go here and say Postgres, and here we are, as he says.
You are in the interactive shell. Here you can execute some command. So for example, I want to list out all the databases. So I will just write \list here and then press enter, which is going to give me the list of all the databases. You can see Postgres is there, Codebind is there, and these.
Okay, now we check that. We have a \list and return, and it's working as promised. So now, in principle, you can do whatever you want in SQL in this terminal, because this is an application looking at this fragmented file system called a database. So this is, and if you follow that or subsequent tutorials, this gets very annoying and complicated. And you see it's very basic level. And to overcome that, there are graphical clients. So this is an application which works as a graphical interface to this ugly stuff. So, but let's first go to Mathematica, because with Mathematica we can link to the database as we did it with the terminal. So, and I show you how this works. So go here, and in our distribution we had, it's on the database. The file is called on the database.mm. This is in our distribution. So here we have the installation. Now how to connect the database. So there is a package in Mathematica. This means a database link. So, and we have to install that. Don't do this for the first time. So we need this database link. And this is the code to connect to the database. And the database then is called MTP, Mathematical Thinking Programming Database Library. So let's do that. Now he's asking for the password, like we did it here. So this is my password. And we have an SQL connection. So then, for example, all these commands with the database, they come here. These are the Mathematica commands which play SQL. So, but you should not use it. You simply should know that it is like that. So, and one of this, for example, is, as we had it here, you simply say SQL stable of the library of our database. And if you do that, you see there's a table, MTP book, MTP cells, MTP elements. This is part of the Postgres table. So obviously the connection is there. So these are in my database. You didn't set it up yet, but in my database, these are the tables, respectively, the like in the tables like in Excel. So if you want to close the connection, this is a command, but we keep it open. So that's it in Mathematica. Now you understand there are different accesses to this database, and the database is just a huge amount of fragments of things. So, okay, now we had this simple tool, this command line editor, the terminal, to access all the fragments of the database. And to communicate with that, we built a communication channel from Mathematica to the database, and we will work on this. But to see what's going on in the database, there is the option to work with graphical clients. So these applications working on a database, the database is always called a server, and the applications looking at it simultaneously are called clients. So there's a graphical client which shows the database and is able to manipulate and work on the database like in a spreadsheet of Excel. So I'm using Postico. This unfortunately is only available on Macintosh, and it costs $19, but it's very comfortable and very smooth in the way how you work with OS X. There's an alternative to that. It's called dbeaver. This is cross-platform and open source. So call it dbeaver.io. That's here, and download it. It's Windows, Linux, Eclipse. It's a developing environment. So get this and wait for downloading. Okay. Now continue. Okay. Okay, now in our application there should be a dbeaver. Open this. And here we are. The problem is that I already installed it before, so some of the preferences had been set already. But what you have is here the database. You go here for Postgres. Let's go here, public. So this is the Postgres. You logged into Postgres with your password. You go here for Postgres, and you have the public. It's a little tricky because it's super powerful what you can do. But we want, so what we have is always, and you can't have it because it's not there in your database, it's empty. It's just to give you an understanding of how this works, and you might be interested in how the database looks like while you're working with Mathematica. So you have always these schemes. So these are the headlines or the names of the columns in a spreadsheet. So, and they have, these are the columns. So it's I have 13 different columns. They have names, like in the spreadsheets, and they have certain data types. So this is an integer, this is a string, a text, and they have a maximum of variable length. So for example, for data and with for images, these are 500 kilobytes maximum, and so on. So there's a lot of options you can use, but what is important is that we have the key. So that's here. And the key is a universal serial number for this fragment of text, and you can find it worldwide. So it's a unique number of a certain length, and the capacity of this number is you can address any CentCon on this planet. So you can address all the fragments of your database in a unique way, and you can find it everywhere and always if you have access, but you have a clear identity. So for each of these cells. So this here, so the definition of the table is called a scheme. So you fill it with your rows, and these are called instances. So, or in this case, properties and the data. So currently I have all my library in the database, and we'll show you how to, you're able to put your books into your library. This is the table. And the table has, you see it here, we go, where is it? That's a scheme. I'm not used to this, and these are the properties. Object ID. Yeah, I don't know. Currently it has 350,000 entries. So I don't know where I can see that. So what you always have is, let's go here. So now it's 350,000, all my books. Then I have, for example, the book name. So now I can ask here, go in here with control, and then you only need these filter options, and you say book name like this. So then it's filtering all of these 350,000, where book name is Scott BR. Or you can go to Fraser Evolutionary Architect, which is, in my case, you see the library. These are all the books in there, architecture, the ready, they are in, and it's the file name I'm using here. So this is how the system I suggest, that I provide, is working. So this name is here, the reference. So we can, for example, ask for Fraser, and if we, so these are all the elements, the fragments of Fraser. Go here and let's have a look. This is Fraser Evolutionary Architecture, and these are all the fragments. Pictures, whatever, yeah, it's there. And this is the list of these things, and they are numbered. So you have the book name, you have the book, and then you have the sequence of these elements. And you have the, for example, the medium. Now I can ask, for example, for all the images in this. Go filter, medium is image. So now we have all the images of this book. We can sort it. Okay. Okay, no, it's not sorted. I don't know. But you see, it's in the thousands. I'm not used with. I'm able to do that with PostICO, not with dbeaver. But now it's sorted from here. You see, these are the numbers of cells which are in my document. And these are all the images of Fraser. So, and of course, you can do it crisscross across all the books, especially because of this key. So if you know the key, then, or no, in this case a UID, the universal identity, if you know this number, you can find it wherever it is, independent of what it is, where it is, and so on. That's the key to find it, the identity. Okay, I think for now this is enough. I think you got an idea how it works. If you're able to install all this, this will be okay. So this editor here is optional. What we need to have is that it's running with Mathematica. If you have that, then you can go and start Mathematica as we always start with the start button here and evaluate the thing, and by that it automatically connects to the database. So now it starts with the library. Now it's asking for the database connection. And then you're fine. So this is what I wanted to tell you in this tutorial, and see you in the next tutorial how to fill the database.